let me bring in Brady Quinn. Brady is going to be covering the big shootout there, State Fair of Texas between Oklahoma. It's called the Red River Showdown, not a shootout anymore. It's a showdown there between Texas and Oklahoma. Brady, thanks for joining us. All right, we stumbled upon this question pre-show. If I said to Tom Brady privately, I could get you Beckham or you stay with Edelman, who would he take?
I think he'd take Edelman at this point.
Who would you
there's
take?
Something to be said for. I would. That's a tough question to answer for me. I'm not as talented as Tom is, so I would need someone with the talent and ability of Odell Beckham to be able to make you look good as a quarterback sometimes. So I would probably need a wide receiver like Odell Beckham or Julio Jones or all those guys you had discussed. Heck, Braylon Edwards, my rookie year, the way he played that year, you need that sometimes unless you are Tom Brady, arguably the greatest of all time, and you can move in the pocket the way he does, put the ball wherever he wants. I mean, that then allows a guy like Julian Edelman, in my mind at least, to have more production and a bigger career.
Isn't it strange, though? What are you getting ready to turn? You're 34, going to be 35?
35 here shortly, yeah.
Okay. And this dude at 42 is doing what he's doing. And then you got Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger. Like, what do you think when you see those guys out there?
It's incredible. I mean, it speaks to not only what they've been able to accomplish, but I also think the situations that they entered into. Those are much more stable situations. The ownership of those teams too. As much as you always want to put on the quarterback, there's also a lot of variables and circumstances that they walked into that I think helped them become the quarterbacks that they are. I mean, if you look at what Ben Roethlisberger was when he first got there as a rookie and some of his early success, and then what he was later on, I mean, it's an entirely different story. And you can maybe even make that case a little bit for Tom Brady when he took over for Bledsoe. I mean, that defense for the Patriots was nasty. And now at the end of his career, ironically, they've got another number one defense in the NFL.
I'm looking at these quarterbacks now coming out of college, and I don't know how to troubleshoot, handicap them, and I don't know if you can either, but I know Justin Herbert's supposed to be great. Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be great. Tua is supposed to be great. Now, all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts might be a first-round draft pick. This is a fluid subject here, and trying to figure out how Daniel Jones, who would have thought? So how do you look at these quarterbacks if you're asked to project of how you think they'll perform in the NFL?
Well, I think the one thing about all those guys is that each one of them have this one quality that stands out more so than everything else. And so if you're talking about Herbert, and Dan, have you ever seen him in person?
No, but I've heard he's a big dude.
He's really impressive. And I did their bowl game last year versus Michigan State. And from watching the tape and the film, just from an overall, playing the position, I kind of was thinking to myself, I'm not sure what all the hype is about this guy. And then I went down on the field before the game, and you see that he's 6'6". He throws absolute lasers. I mean, the ball just coming out of his hand, and he's a great athlete. He's a really good kid. You see all these other qualities that you say, okay, I get it. Now I understand why people look at him and they think, imagine what he could be as he becomes more refined as a quarterback. And I think this year he's actually showcased that a little bit too. Tua just has a really good sense for seeing the field, his timing, his rhythm within the offense, and even in the pocket, and just ability to make plays. He kind of reminds you a little bit of, at times Russell Wilson, because he moves around, but he keeps his eyes downfield. He really doesn't want to run. He wants to take those big shots, and he's kind of my left-handed version of Russell Wilson that you see. I'm not sure he has the same arm strength, but they're close, And then you keep going down the line and talking about some of these guys. I mean, Joe Burrow's an interesting one because this year he's taken such a big step forward that I think some people may start looking at him and saying, okay, they had this guy named Joe Brady who was with the Saints. He's coming down. He's putting in more NFL-style pass plays and progressions for him, and he is flourishing down there. I mean, he's making this LSU team a legitimate contender. And so people are going to start giving him a lot more consideration because of how he operates within the system and how he handles everything in that offense. So, every one of those guys that I mentioned has one or two qualities that just stand out amongst everyone else, and they can all make them first-round picks and successful quarterbacks. But I kind of go back to what I said about all the guys who are going to be Hall of Famers. It's the situation, circumstance they enter into. I think that's paramount to even some of these qualities that I'm talking about, because Gardner Minshew doesn't have any of those qualities as good as the guys I just named. I mean, he's accurate. He's obviously athletic enough. He's got a strong enough arm. He's got the best personality you'll find in any one of these quarterbacks, but he's also in a situation where his defense can help him out. He's got some over the running game, and they don't put too much on his plate in order for him to win games.
He's Brady Quinn, full cast, big noon kickoff live from the State Fair of Texas for pregame coverage, Red River Showdown, beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern. That'll be Saturday on Fox. I was mentioning, if I'm Lincoln Riley, the quarterback whisperer, at least the new one, I wouldn't leave Oklahoma for a job like the Washington Redskins. And I would have serious doubts about, let's say the Dallas Cowboys job opened up. What do you think it would take to get Lincoln Riley to leave Oklahoma?
Probably a Brinks truck full of like $15 million a year, so some ridiculous amount of money that we've never heard before.
But what job opportunity, though, Brady? Because you don't want to go to Washington. Okay.
No, probably Dallas. I mean, it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's Jerry Jones. You know, you're going to be a head coach of the most valuable sports franchise in the world. It would be hard to turn that down, along with a huge contract. And I think the one thing we've seen too, at least from watching, Nick Saban, you can go up to the NFL or even Steve Spurrier. You can strike out and you can come right back down, and you'll be fine. Now the problem is, you may not have that opportunity there waiting for you, like Oklahoma, and how they have that thing running right now, where when Lincoln Riley took over for Bob Stoops, it was just kind of business as usual, and we're going to try to, ratchet this thing up another notch and see if we can win a national championship.
How important is this game, USC-Notre Dame? Who is it more important to?
That's a good question. I would say it's probably more important to Notre Dame if they want to stay within that conversation of like, all right, like where do they maybe sit as an 11-1 team with the schedule that they played? I don't think they get in, but I think it kind of verifies them as this team that is or has arrived. And maybe they're not to the likes of a Georgia, even though I'd love to see that game played on a neutral site and how that would have worked out for them. Or the Ohio States and the Clemsons and the Bamas. But they're right there. I mean, I think they're inching closer and closer and closer to with every recruiting class and as this group continues to develop. So it's probably more important to them. But you can make the case as far as Clay Helton's job security. If he doesn't win this one, that chatter is going to get a lot louder.
Yeah, but we know I don't think he can win his way into another year, unfortunately, for Clay.
So hold on. Let's just play out this scenario.
Okay.
Let's say they do upset Notre Dame.
All right.
Let's say they go on to win the Pac-12.
Okay.
And then they go on to win a Rose Bowl at that point because they're not getting in the playoff. They'd be part of the New Year's Six, right? Are you going to fire a coach after winning the Pac-12 and winning the Rose Bowl, Dan?
I wouldn't, but, you bring in a new athletic director, and the new athletic director usually brings in a new head coach. Right?
But isn't that a bad precedent to set? Like I understand, but I think maybe it just prolongs another year where you see how they perform in 2020, and then you're reevaluating the situation. I also think as a new athletic director, wouldn't you want to kind of get settled in too before you start making a bunch of decisions with really not, understanding how this all operates? And again, I don't know, maybe they bring in another USC alum, which would probably be a terrible decision based on their track record right now.
Spoken like a true Notre Dame Fighting Irishman there. Little zing there.
I'm just trying to be objective.
Of course
I'm trying
you
to help them out. I'm trying to help them out right now. Look, the last two hires have not worked out for USC. Let's try something different. Let's try to think outside the box. Maybe we bring in someone who's just really good at the job, right? Maybe we should do something like that.
Wasn't it 14 years ago coming up? Or do you celebrate the anniversary of the Bush push? Do you throw things against the wall? Or?
Yeah, I go to one of those smash rooms and I just break stuff for about an hour.
Is Jalen Hurts now a first-round draft pick?
No. I based on what I've watched so far on film, I mean, for starters, I'd say that he hasn't even really been tested. I mean, let's just go back to last week. They only put up 45 points and only had like 545 yards of total offense. And that was their worst performance of the year so far. So, I mean, they haven't been tested. And so this week will really, I think, give us a sense or tell what he could potentially be as a prospect. Because I do think their defensive coordinator at Texas, Todd Orlando, is going to force him to try to play from the pocket, talking with some of the staff at Oklahoma too, you get the sense that like some of these big runs that occur that aren't necessarily designed in the offense, they're frustrated because he's taking off and making that play. And as much as you want to say, well, yeah, we don't want to limit him and his ability to run when he sees an opening because he's so dynamic, there's also this other thought that if Oklahoma runs the table and wins the Big 12, they're in the playoff, or even maybe with a one loss. But still, when they get to those matches against some of the top defenses, you can't do that. I mean, look at last year, Trevor Lawrence playing from the pocket. At times he had to run and move, but even Deshaun Watson, go back. When you look at the times when teams have been able to win the national championship, they still have to have a fair amount of play from the pocket. And I think that's what they're looking for him to do. And that's what life is in the NFL. You can run around as much as you want. You're eventually going to get hurt, and eventually teams are going to figure out what your weaknesses are. So you have to be able to play from the pocket. I don't know that he's really demonstrated the ability or been tested and forced to do that yet.
Are you mad at the Dallas Cowboys?
Mad? Why would I be mad?
Well, didn't the Browns trade up with the Cowboys to select you?
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's completely out of my control. How would I?
Well, where did you think you were going?
I thought I was going to be going to Miami at 9. I mean, Charlie Weiss had received a care package from the Dolphins like the night before. And so I'm at this, there's these different marketing events you go to, and I get a call from him. He said, hey, you're going to be a Miami Dolphin. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, I just got a care package, and I had a note that said, we know you haven't been a big fan before, but you will after tomorrow, kind of going back to his days being a coordinator in New England and going up against Miami twice a year. And so when it didn't happen, we were all pretty surprised by the fact, I mean, just from the rapport, from the visits, everything else, it seemed like it was heading in that direction, and then it didn't. And so at that point, I really wasn't sure what to expect.
What's the care package?
I think it was like a sweatshirt and a hat or something. I don't know. Look, these NFL organizations are cheap. It couldn't have been much, Dan.
Oh, and then all of a sudden, who does Miami take?
They took Ted Ginn. He's still playing, still balling.
And then you go, wait, I'm supposed to be good. Do you think because Ginn was there that they had to take him?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what those conversations were going on in that room. I mean, look, the Dolphins went 1-15 that year, and Cam Cameron got fired. So, I mean, maybe they helped me out there. Maybe I was better off I didn't go.
Hey, Brady, great to talk to you, and happy birthday coming up. Have fun this weekend.
I appreciate that, guys.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.